Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 211 of Keeping It Real. I'm your host, jackkadis, and today I want to do that over again because I think I could do it just a little bit more coherently. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 211 of Keeping It Real. I'm your host, jackkadis, and today I want to start with an ad spot. If you want to buy this ad spot, it's $5 for a 30-second stretch right here at the start of this episode, or maybe next episode, or whichever episode you'd like. We can work together, figure out a topic, and I'm using this ad spot for me to advertise this ad spot. Moving on, we're going to break this episode into 3 segments. The first segment, we're going to keep it real. It's going to be 20 minutes, and the other 2 are also going to be 20 minutes to combine for a 1-hour episode. I'm going to talk to you about what's going on in my life, how I feel about it. I'm going to try my best to be vulnerable. Moving on, we're going to talk about the cost of just existing right now in today's economy here in America in comparison to other generations. We're going to dive into what it costs to be alive. Then moving on, we're going to have a 20-minute segment to end the episode with some philosophy from yours truly, advice. We're in a Discord call with Griffin, but he does appear to be asleep right now, so maybe by then he'll be awake. We'll unmute and see if he wants to chime in on anything we're saying. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. Let's begin. So, I just went on a 10-mile run, and I'm so tired. I came back, and the first thing I did was turn on Keeping It Real. And I have work, and my dad just called. He texted me and said, yo, talk today, because he's coming tomorrow, and he's going to take me back to Charlotte instead of me taking the train. And he called anyway, and I picked up. I texted him. I said I was busy. I got all this stuff to do. I got to get ready. And maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't know why I brush him off so easily. Because, I call my mom every single day, and I text my brothers every single day, but I don't text or call my dad every single day. I was texting him goodnight, and I have this idea. I think I should text him when I wake up every morning. That's kind of like what I think probably, because I can't just get in contact with all my family members but him every single day. I want to add him in there. I added my friend Sam to my everyday text list and not my dad. Yeah, but it is what it is. Yeah, honestly, I think I could do a lot better. Because what I was going to say is I picked the phone up, and he sounded like he was like, I don't know how to explain it, but his the way he was speaking was he was sounding like he was super defensive, like he's just trying to get a hold of me. And that makes me feel like I'm attacking when I haven't done anything. But I don't know, maybe not reaching out is a sort of attack. Maybe that is a sort of jab. Maybe not communicating is hostile. So maybe I can't blame him for sounding kind of defensive. Yeah. In other news, I just finished the 10-mile run. Like I said, I'm back now, and I actually can't even think straight. It's nice to be sitting, standing, being still. And I'm kind of worried by how much of that was such an event I just did. I ran for about 2 hours and 15 minutes. I ran 14-minute miles. I zigzagged across Raleigh for 10 miles. 5 there, 5 back. And across my run, I started to think, I need to slow down with how I'm, picturing this whole running thing going. Because the reason I'm running 10 miles is because I'm currently undertaking a 12-week marathon training program. I'm about a third of the way in. Fourth of the way in, actually, is more realistic. I'm a fourth of the way in, 3 weeks in. And it really hurts. It really, really hurts. Now, running it, like, I'm slamming my feet into the ground over and over and over again. And it's, like, really demanding. And I think the biggest thing about what I'm doing here is that each Sunday, it gets harder. Like, there was many things I did in my day-to-day life before I started running this marathon that were exercise. I would bike to work every day. I go on a 1-mile walk every single day. And it's I think with those things, it's the same requirement every day. Like, work doesn't get any farther. My walks don't get any longer. Even on the days where, I felt like I could walk longer, I keep it to a mile because that's what I do every day. But with this new thing that I'm doing, this marathon, I'm training for a certain distance. And I think I have to admit to myself and to say it out loud, because this is important, and this is why I think I started to think this way. Somewhere around the first week, this seed was hatched in my mind where currently I train at 3 different paces. My intended race pace, 1 minute plus, 2 minutes plus. My race pace is 12 minutes a mile. I want to run my marathon at 12 minutes every mile, not a single stop. Then on certain runs I train, I do 12 minutes. Then others runs, I'll do 13-minute miles. And then my long runs, like today, I run 14-minute miles because that's just how the training program has it laid out. And I was like, okay, I'll be able to crush this marathon easy. And then I'll just start the training program all over again back at square one, but I'll drop everything by 1 minute. Race pace target will be 11, then +1 and +2 for training. And I don't know why I started doing that. And I don't know why I do that with seemingly everything. I think that's a big way that I get in my way when it comes to making progress. Because progress is, like, you're looking at progress. This podcast has come a long way. Me on social media is continuing to inch forward just a little bit every single day. And it is 100% progress. It might not be, my goals might change, and I might realize it's not enough progress per day. Whatever. At the end of the day, at the very least, it is progress. As opposed to, not doing this. And I think keeping my goals in mind, I think my first goal, my most important goal for running is to not stop. I want to run. I don't want to stop running. Because before I was doing this training program for this marathon, I wasn't running. And I don't want to go back to that spot. I want to keep running for my entire life. That's my goal. And it's a big goal, and it requires change and switching, and you have to adapt everything else around your main goal. So I have to say out loud and realize that it's okay if it would be okay even if I didn't complete this marathon. As long as I continue to run. Now, I set this goal, and I'm training for a marathon because I believe I can do it. And I want to finish and run this marathon. This is a goal that I want to do. I want to run this marathon. But if at any point I see the completion of this marathon as something that may result in me not being able to get up and run 2 days later, then forget it. I'll stop in my tracks just so that I can continue running in the day after day. And right now, my body is like, holy, I can only imagine how sore I'm going to be tomorrow. And I've been sore before, and it's kind of amazing how a good night's sleep kind of just like really heals me up. So yeah, my plan is to really be aware of what I'm going after. And this isn't really on par with this segment. This segment, I think I'm supposed to be a little bit more like, I don't know, vulnerable. I feel like in this segment, more than anything, I'm kind of like, I think I'm confusing this segment with the last right now, and I'm not supposed to be doing that. I'm supposed to be like, I'm supposed to be being honest and cutting deep into who I am and what I stand for. Okay, here we go. This is what I'm about to say is not family friendly, not PG. Maybe I shouldn't say it then. I'm thinking about it and I'm weighing all my options. I could drop the N word in this episode. So many things that I could do. I don't know. It's also hard to it's hard to break into this mode where I'm like honest and open when I'm so tired. I shot awake. I only got like 4 hours of sleep, and I shot awake at like 8:30. And this is the first morning in so long where I've actually gotten up out of bed when I've woken up. Seriously, I don't know what it was, how it happened, or what was going on, but I'm telling you, man, I just woke the hell up. Woke up, got ready to run, ran. Like, holy. I don't know what was going on, how that happened, but it happened. And here I am, trying my best to open up and be vulnerable to the camera. I don't really think that I'm good looking. Yeah. There was times when I was younger where circumstances led to like, I felt like I was good looking enough, but now I'm in this place where I don't feel like I'm that, I don't know, like symmetrical. I think my teeth are kind of crooked. They're not always as white as they could be. My hair, I've never felt really great about my hair. Whatever length. Right now I think it's too long and it doesn't look cut or clean. I can't really afford, not that I can't afford, it's like a mix of I can't afford and I can't get down to the haircut place. And there's like hair on the back of my neck. I also I can't afford shaving cream. And I also figured out that you don't really need it. You can shave without shaving cream. It just isn't as smooth. So I feel like my face isn't as clean as it could be. I have, because of it, like pimples and acne, all along my beard would be. This is like just something that just like, I have fat, my jawline, I have just a lot of fat here and it's like loose skin. And sometimes I just feel like it's really prominent and like I really have like a double chin. I'm really flabby in my upper body. There's a lot of loose skin around my bicep area, my shoulder, so much where when I don't have a shirt on and I press my arm against the side of my body, it's just a lot of flabby skin. You can't see any of the lines of my muscles. And when I shake like this, like in the mirror, like it's just a lot of loose skin in the mirror. and I have this big pimple, like wart thing on my back that protrudes insanely. Not to mention all this back knee that I have. I have a bunch of hair on my lower back, like leading down my butt crack, and I have a super hairy butt. And I think very young, I like realized that was something that I had to like say over and over again that I didn't care about, because like not any other kids really have that. And or at least none of the kids that I was around. I remember I was at like a swim team, and I think that plan worked out pretty well, because here I am talking about all the stuff that I feel kind of insecure about, the way that I look. And I've gotten to this part, and it's like, I don't really care. I mean, I'm not going to, like, realistically, I'm not going to, like, there are lines that I draw here. Say, for example, I walked around without a shirt every single day, and I never wore a shirt. I don't think that I would invest any time into shaving or fixing the hair on my lower back. It's just kind of like, who cares? I when I was young, I kind of taught myself not to care about that, and I think it really did stick. So if anything, that teaches me that it's time to start teaching myself not to care about all the other things. Because the truth of the matter is, I exercise. I'm living I'm pretty like proud of the life that I'm building, and eventually this life that I'm building is going to start to show itself in my physical appearance. But even if it didn't, and even if I fought and picked up all these habits and hobbies and routines and lifestyle, 30 years later, and I had it all down concrete, and I still looked exactly like this, just older, that would have to just be okay. And for what it's worth, I think girls do like me. Seriously. There was this one girl recently where I met her, and I smiled and I was polite, and she was just like holding my eye contact, and that's just a good like that. I mean, that's just like, and like that kind of thing's fun, So you just kind of stare at her in the eyes back, and that's kind of just like, I don't know. Like at the very least, like I feel like that's sort of I don't want to say like, oh, she liked me or anything, or I liked her, but it's kind of like I don't know. Like like I can do that. I could stare at a girl in the eyes. Like that's like maybe a learned skill, I think. Not a skill. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know. Maybe you understand what I'm trying to make myself not to feel too bad. I don't feel too bad. I just was trying to get, I was trying to be honest to you people. Like sometimes I really don't like the way that I look, and I think that that's okay. But, it does suck. That's like something that I think is very relatable. I think a lot of people aren't too pleased with their appearance, especially today and now, because there's just so much to compare yourself to. And we fight so hard not to compare. And it's almost like the things that you fight hardest against are the ones you're most likely to lose to. So I hope that you hear me and you're like, hey, bro. Yo, bro. It's all right, bro. We can all think we're ugly together. Oh my gosh. Oh man. When I came home today, my door was locked. And I just ran 10 miles, no keys, no phone, no wallet, a locked front door. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Thankfully, it was the kids that were painting, just some kids that are painting all these apartments. They locked the door behind them, and I found them in someone else's apartment, and I was like, yo, I need you to unlock my door, yo. And they did. All right, a second ad spot. If you'd like your ad here, it's $5 for 30 seconds. $5 for 30 seconds. I know this is a bit unconventional. You don't hear people advertising ad spots like this very often, but leave me a comment, send me an email. I'd like for your ad to be here, and I used this ad spot just now to advertise the ad spot itself. I'll do a better example between the next segment and this segment, and I will advertise probably my show, the Jack Kadis Show. So look out for that, and we're going to start our second segment. Okay, it's now been about 12 hours since the clip of my voice that you were just hearing. I just did an ad read, launching into the second segment, and what you don't know and what you're about to learn is that for the second and third segment, I just decide to sit at my computer and watch YouTube videos while the camera films me. I don't say anything. Now, this was just because that's how I do Keeping It Real sometimes. Sometimes I just am so tired and so burnt that I just can't seem to make it happen, and I post an empty episode, and I see in my mind as, well, at least I'll let the cameras roll and I click publish at the very least, right? Well, lately also, I've been looking at my subscriber count, my views and all that, and at work today I realized, I'm just going to have to go back and redo these last two segments. So without further ado, this is the second segment of today's episode. We're going to be talking about the cost of just existing right now. It's 2025. I am a almost 22-year-old male who, I have a lot of support from my parents financially, and it's making my life very easy. It's very easy, and I'm getting lots of second chances. I get lots of bailouts, lots of cushion. And it's tight. It is tight. Money is not easy to come by. And it is very, very hard to save up a couple bucks. I think that we're at a time in this, at least our country is coming to this point where, throughout history, Ray Dalio, I don't know how you say his last name. He writes a fantastic book, The Changing World Order. I won't act like I've read it or anything, but I have seen video adaptations where he talks about power changing from the hands of the nation with the strongest military. And a good way to gauge who is, the number one country, the world power in a certain time period, is looking at which country's currency is the world's currency. They use the word reserve currency, and I think it's just the most stable dollar is the one backed by the best military and the strongest country. So before the United States, it was the United Kingdom. And before the United Kingdom, it was the Dutch, I believe. And before the Dutch, it was, I don't know. But our currency, in terms of stability and worth, is in decline. We have already passed the peak, so to say. And no one in history has ever come back from this. It may just be a human processing error. At such mass scales, we just, for whatever reason, we always find a way to print more money and drive a currency into the ground. Always. Whether it's fast or whether it's slow, it always happens. And I see it happening with our dollar. $10 now buys you one cheeseburger, and $10 used to buy you 10 cheeseburgers, and $10 used to buy you 100 cheeseburgers. It's just simple inflation. Over time, the Federal Reserve keeps on adding currency into the pool, and with every dollar added, the worth of that same dollar decreases. So right now, the cost of being alive, at least in America, I think that discussion is a bit detached from inflation and economic boom and such, because there have been times where we've struggled to, go exist and be alive and such. Yeah, it's expensive to live your life nowadays. And this is a bit off topic, but I came home today after work, and there's no lights. My lights don't work. All the power in my room works, and the outlets work, but all the light switches for any of the main rooms don't work. The kitchen, the living room, the lights don't work. What's the deal with that? The painters came and went, and now my lights don't work. Like, what? Like, how does that make any sense? None of the lights work. Today, it's a weird time to be alive today because you have this necessity. I'm intelligent enough to understand that for me to achieve any sort of financial freedom in life, I'm going to have to sacrifice a lot. There's going to be no room for spending money on this or this or this because I won't be able to afford it. And if down the road there, I say that, and I've never held a job that pays more than, $30,000-$40,000 a year. My current job's paying me under $20,000, like maybe $10,000 a year, and that's tough. It's tough, especially because of how hard I'm working. I guess I'm not working that hard. I have very cut back hours. But it is a big eye-opener how there was much more cash flow and more money at my job that was close to downtown Charlotte versus my job that is further away from downtown Raleigh. Smaller city. It's there's just not as much money. That's, money's a tricky thing. And I don't think we talk about it because I don't know what. I think with money, it's very much like, I don't know. I think it's scary to be this age. And I want to say like single. I don't know, because at some base level, it's like I'm only really worth as much as I earn, or as much as I have, and that's horrifying because how do you make the jump from that? How do you make the jump from, okay, well, I need to make money. Money's important in society, and I can't live my life without dollars in my pocket. I need a job that provides income. To, okay, this is what I devote 40,000 hours of my life to between the ages of 25 and 45, so 50, 60, 55. Like, how are we supposed to wrap our heads around money? And I know I'm getting far off topic. The topic is supposed to be the cost of just existing right now. And yeah, it's high. Apartments keep on raising their rates. People keep on earning more, spending more at a clearly insustainable rate. It's like if you're training for a race and you just keep on going out the next day, and running harder and harder and harder. Eventually, something's got to give. And, we had 2001, we had 2008. there's been crashes here and there, but it's like, it's scary how the graph always bounces back to up. You can't have up forever. And it's naive for people to truly believe that, well, it's America. It's always gone up and it will always go up. Just listen to yourself. What will always go up? Nothing can go up forever. It doesn't make any sense. Now, the question might be, are we insignificant along the line as dots that for our lifetime it will continue to go up? Maybe. That's true, actually. Maybe. And sometimes to me it really does seem that way. There was once upon a time where I had a lot of money in the stock market before I pulled it all out and spent it on awesome things and had a great time. And I used to wrestle with that question a lot. Like, does it make sense for me to really put my bets on these companies and our government and this country? And, the answer was yes, because my money stayed there and it was for a long term. It was for a long-term thing. I wanted to hold it long-term. But, all the people that are interested in telling me they told me so can go ahead and say it, because I wasn't able to keep it in there. I spent it all. And now I'm back to square one, But the beautiful thing about starting over and getting beat down and leveled out is that you're able to see the task with a new light. Before, it was just this autistic, for lack of a better word, obsession with saving money. I would skip high school. I didn't care about school. School doesn't make me any money. I didn't want to go to school. I go to the car wash and I bust my ass. I would work like crazy, all for $1. And every single dollar went into my, not just a savings account, it was a brokerage. I opened a brokerage account with Merrill Lynch. And I was putting money into stocks. I feel kind of burnt. I feel like I pushed the last 2 or 3 keeping it reals out with this format. And now I'm back at that spot where I just feel like I'm fighting so much for it. And I feel like I shouldn't feel like that. I feel like I shouldn't feel like I'm fighting so much for this. But maybe I should, maybe I should. I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky because I feel like I'm not talking fast and I'm not being engaging. And that's what the platform demands. And that's what my success depends on, is whether or not I'm very uppity. At least I think. I don't. I turned the camera back on to improve on earlier, but I don't think I can do that necessarily. Like, I want to stop it again. Like, I want to stop this again and just use what I've got. Because I still have to make the YouTube video, make all the shorts. And I have to be up really early. And it's starting to really stress me the hell out. And I haven't packed. I'm just so stressed out. Hold on, let me fill up some water. Um, I don't want to do any of this today. Like I don't understand why I'm doing this. Like it's not working, but it is working. It is working. It is working. Just breathe, bro. Why you gotta freak out so much? Just breathe. You got another segment coming. Just push for the next segment. Breaking it into smaller steps. This is good. In 5 minutes, we'll switch segments. For 5 more minutes, 4 minutes, just say what you can about how expensive it is to live. It's expensive to live, arguably. And, that changes lives for young people, and it turns young people into a different kind of old people that raises different young people. If it's expensive now, what's it going to be like in 40, 50 years? Now, you have what is the consolidation of wealth, where it's getting pooled up in the very top, and the rich people get more rich, and the poor people become more poor. And, it's a tricky thing. It's a weird thing. And it is a happening thing. And honestly, I'm just reaching out for words to say. I know Griffin's asleep. I just checked. So it's all just me alone. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be in your ear. I hope I'm not bugging you or bringing you down too much by saying like, oh, I don't want to be here. I'm stretching out. I'm just trying to say what's in my head. I'll be all right. Trust me. Don't worry about me. This is exactly where I want to be because I put myself here. It might not feel like it right now because I am like on the clock and it's like, I'd rather be doing this, rather be doing that. But I want to be here and I love this. I do. I love this. This is what I love to do. And it's why I do it. I've always wanted to be famous. I've always wanted to be someone that everyone wants to be around and that, I want all that comes with that. So doing this is exactly what I want to be doing because for an hour a day, I get to role play like my voice is one that actually deserves to be encased forever in what is the eternity of the internet. One that deserves to be broadcasted out to anyone that types the right combination of words into their keyboard and clicks search. It's amazing, and I'm grateful. And I'll continue to do it for as long as I possibly can because I love to keep it real. I love to keep it real. I love to keep it real, and I'm making something and I'm doing something, and I can't be anything but proud of myself for that. So yeah, it costs a lot to live, and I was thinking the other day, like, why in the world would I want to go to New York City? Because I've had all the social media apps back on my phone, it's been really hard because I've been, sucked back into the scrolling on the phone, and I see all these people from high school and they're doing all these things and they're with each other and all that, and I'm like, what advantage do I get from moving to the most expensive city ever? But I gotta remember that this dream that I'm chasing, that these videos belong in New York City. Not in some shitty apartment on the outskirts of a college. I don't know how I ended up here, but it's okay, because now that's actually somewhere that I want to go. There was never ever somewhere I wanted to go. Seriously, there was never somewhere I wanted to go. When I was young, I used to make fun of people that were like, I want to move to here, or do this, or do that. And it's just because I never had... Okay, and that's the end of this segment. We're going to move on. I actually kind of bled that segment into the next, so we'll probably pick back up right where we left off. But this is a quick ad read. If you're interested in this ad spot, it's $5 for 30 seconds, and I'm currently using this ad spot to promote my own self. So if you're interested in what I do, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, or, of course, YouTube. On each 3 platforms, I have 3 separate channels. A good way to find any of them on any platform is to use the hashtag jackkadis. That's hashtag JACKKADIS. This podcast is also on Spotify for those interested. Tune in. Okay, for our final segment, I'm going to be dumping philosophy, trying to give you advice. Who knows why I think I can do that, but hey, here we go. And that'll be the end of the episode. So, with a little bit of a sad tone, I have to point out that we're never going to get an episode 211 ever again. These episodes, they come and they go, but they never come back. And that's why I really want to take this one moment to say thank you for July 28th. Thanks for this episode. Thanks for episode 211 of Keeping It Real. I'm happy to be doing this. And whether or not I'm trying to gaslight into myself into believing it by saying it is neither here nor there. I love this show, and it's one of my most prized accomplishments in my entire life, if you'd believe it or not. The thing that makes my eyes light up and feel the best about myself out of all is when you're on the TV, like an Apple TV, and you're on YouTube, and you go to this podcast's playlist on YouTube. And as you scroll down the episodes, the thumbnails pop up in the background as like a big wallpaper behind the title, behind the scrolling. And it's just each one of these thumbnails that encapsulates an hour of my life. And it really just makes me feel really good about myself, because I remember saying, like, this is what I'm going to do. And now I can feel myself doing it. And it's like I have a grip on it. And I feel like in the midst of a run, I feel strong and powerful. Like the other day I was at this house party briefly that I was invited to, which, mind you, lately in life, I've really been trying to never say no to social invitations. If there's a place I can go socially, I can make time for it, always. And I was there, and I just brought up my podcast because that's what I do every day. So it was very just natural. And I remember bringing it up, and I felt like proud of it and good about it. And I remember a time when it was new, and I would bring it up, sure, because it was what I was doing and it was what I was passionate about, but I didn't feel good about it. But at this party, I brought it up, and I was like, I'm on Spotify and YouTube, and these people just whipped their phones out and was like, let me find you on Spotify. I typed in my own name. I was like, I'm not sure if I can find me on Spotify. But lo and behold, I found me on Spotify, and I was really proud to hand the person their phone back and say, that's me. Like, regardless of if you ever click play on an episode, I know these last couple episodes are good. They're good episodes. And I felt really good about that. And I think that cascaded into my decision that I've just made, not but 23 minutes ago, to re-roll the last 2 segments of today's episode, and overwrite what was just me sitting in silence, just to have me on camera for the entire hour. I re-rolled, and I said, hey, no, I'm going to sit here consciously, and I'm going to talk to the mic. I'm going to finish out these segments, and I'm going to rock and roll. Because that is what I do. I do Keeping It Real, and I don't just do Keeping It Real. There's a standard that I do it to. I have 3 segments. I have 3 ad reads. I have an introduction and a brief end. And that packaged together is my show. Now, I've been thinking lately about how guests incorporate into this new 3-segment structure, and I think what we do with Griffin is actually top tier, gold. I think one of the hardest things for me with guests was not really texting them, was not really traveling to them. It was just this existential dread of being on camera with them and being so worried about what was going on with them and if they felt good or if they were having a good time on the show. And I feel like this segment thing has so much potential because I bring a guest on, right? Say in the near future I'll be having most of these people that I had on last year to start this series off back on again. I'm going to run through my 3 segments normally. I'm going to watch the clock, and I'm going to do my 3 ad reads, and I'm going to give an introduction. And I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Like, I don't think that I'm necessarily going to explain to them that like this is what I'd probably say. I'd probably say, hey, listen, this is how we do the show now. I break it into 3 segments. Today's episode, we're actually going to be covering this, and this. And then I'm going to say, I plan on rolling through these 3 segments as if you weren't even here. But make no mistake, I am very, very glad that you are, because it gets very, very lonely and it's very, very difficult to do this show over and over and over again without a guest. So by any means, at any point, you'll be on camera and you have your own mic. If you feel like you want to say anything, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. And then with that being said, I just launch right into it. Cameras roll, I do my introduction, and I start. I think that is awesome because it was really important for me to, I think, selfishly, I had to believe that the success of the show was because of me. And I know you're thinking, like, why would you, it's a little bit of a funny thing because you start something like this, social media in my case, it's really just a YouTube channel. I'm addicted to YouTube as a platform. It's really just a successful YouTube channel. And I started out and I think to myself, what I want. What do I want? I want millions of subscribers, tens, hundreds, thousands of comments, and I want people to recognize me on the street and say, oh my God, you're jackkadis. I watch you on YouTube. That's what I want. And so when you want something like that and you want it really bad, there's a really big incentive to get it by any means necessary. And that can turn into a dangerous thing because when you chase a result, you pay no mind to the journey. And you can find yourself in a position where you accomplish what you always wanted and what you were always after, but you feel just as in need of some next accomplishment, if not even more than you were when you started, because things always look bigger as they're coming towards you and smaller as you leave them behind. So with this way of doing things, with the process and the journey in mind, and it's almost like a little bit of self-sabotage. I start this channel off and I only film 2-second clips of me saying hello and then a quick one-liner. That's never in a million years is that gonna kick off the algorithm. Is that gonna result in me being stopped on the street? Is that gonna have millions and millions of people subscribing to my channel and tens and hundreds of thousands of people commenting? But in a weird way, it might, because that itself won't. But the introduction to the actual action of doing this, you can fantasize about what it would be like if you did this all you want, but it's until you actually put your foot in the water that you realize whether or not you can swim. So that's how it goes, and that's how it went. I found myself incrementally pushing through what is honestly it can only be described as my self-sabotage. As I moved forward and I pushed the envelope, It was just thing after thing, and it still is, even today, seriously, thing after thing that kind of makes me think, holy cow, the biggest thing that's in my way right now, like the biggest possible thing, it's not the algorithm, it's not luck, it's not equipment, it's me. Like I am the biggest person that is stopping me from millions of subscribers and hundreds of thousands of comments. And it's almost like, it's not like, oh, well then let me get out of my own way. It's more like it's intentional. Like I'm intentionally stopping myself. And I know you might think I'm crazy for saying that. You might hear that and be like, wow, Jack is delusional. He really thinks if he snapped his fingers and changed his ways, he could just have everything he wanted. And that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in the same way that you can give yourself something, you can take stuff away from yourself. And it's so interesting how the human being's drive to survive can weirdly sabotage you and suck the life out of you. And I think this viewpoint, this ability for me to realize this, I have a lot to thank the internet. I think I like vast connection, wild intelligence. I think that the reason that I'm able to look around and hyper compare myself to every life I might be able to be living in this exact moment is, it's overwhelming, right? But it's also extremely valuable. And it allows me to say, okay, well, the truth is I'm in my own way. If this is what I want, then I'm smart enough to get it. And I don't know if you've noticed, but my heels are really dug into the, like, I'm really running I upped my pace. The thumbnails are much more gravitating. You see my face in these thumbnails and my jaw is open like this. And I look like I just saw like something crazy. Because I want you to see the energy that I bring to the table. I want you to believe that if you click on my face and you click on my video, my title, that you're going to get what you see in the picture. And a thumbnail and a video, they work symbiotically. It's a partnership. You can't have one without the other. And that's why I come home from work and I'm exhausted. Boo-hoo, right? Who cares? But this is what I do. I turn the camera on and I get to keeping it real because I know that my episode was not entirely satisfactory this morning. And I know that I cannot release that at 8:15 this morning. I know that I'm going to want to make a nice thumbnail and I'm going to want to post it on my social media. And I can't do those things if I don't do this thing the right way. So right now I'm in this battle for doing it the correct way. But I see the next challenge. I can almost see past this entirely. I see myself mastering doing it the right way. I see a routine and I see me being able to overcome obstacles and all. I see the year anniversary of Keeping It Real, the beginning of volume 2. And I see myself hitting 1,000 subscribers, 2,000, 3,000. And then it's like there's this, the next problem is like the stuff that you're making, Jack. It's like, it's not, I don't want to say it's not original. It's just not amazing. The truth of the matter is it's not amazing. Like, yes, you work hard, but what you produce is not exceptional. And then I'm going to have to makes exception. I mean, this is not exceptional. And it's like maybe that change needs to come sooner than later. Like this for this to work, I have to be exceptional. And it's almost crazy to hear myself say these words because before I started this, I avoided any kind of thinking like this. I did. There was no time, space. I pushed it away with all of my force. Any sort of thinking like I could be some sort of figure, I could be like this man, I could be this person that people said like that's the guy. I never thought about that. And I did my best, I think, sometimes to not think about that because it was uncomfortable. Because then I would immediately call into question, okay, well, what do I look like right now? And I never wanted to look at how I looked right now. I always thought how I looked right now was just kind of embarrassing. You know, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. I mean, if we pull up a video from me a year ago, I watched a lot of porn. I drank a lot of alcohol. I drank a lot of alcohol. And I just didn't really care. I ate whatever, whenever. I didn't eat whenever, however. I slept. I air quotes, worked. And I just didn't give a fuck. Because I knew that giving a fuck was hard. You know, I had given a fuck before. As a matter of fact, I had gone in and out of giving a fuck over and over and over again. And the cycle itself was exhausting. And I had nothing really to show for any of it. Nothing. And I still don't. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, okay, well now with whatever I've gained from doing this video stuff, I'm a changed man. But, I'm a changed man every day. And I'm not going to say like I'm in such a better place and I've become so much more, now I give a fuck and I'll give a fuck for the rest of my life. I don't know what's going on, and I refuse to self-evaluate, especially for me in the present. I dare tiptoe around the accusations and assumptions about who I was in the past, sure. But telling you who I am right now, I just won't. Because it's for you to decide. It doesn't really matter who I think I am. It's not really what I'm after. I'm not really, it doesn't concern me too much to tell you about me. Now, do I crave the external validation? Maybe. Is that such a bad thing? I'm not sure. But with every new thumbnail and every video, I push forward and I push towards this vision where people can say like, oh, that's a good success story. And that makes me feel good about this world because this guy worked his ass off and got what he was after. And that's how it should be. And that's who I want to be. I can't lie to you, man. I want this really bad. Like really, really bad. And I can't help but feel stupid and cliche saying that kind of stuff because I know there's millions of kids just like me that want this really bad. So maybe I shouldn't say it, I mean, it's like, well, maybe I could say it because I'm currently doing it. Like it'd be one thing to say it if I wasn't doing it, but I'm live on Keeping It Real right now. So maybe this is the only time that I actually get to say it. Because when I'm not live and when I'm not doing this, I don't talk about this anymore. I say, yeah, I brought it up at a party, but these are all just like strangers. I don't know. Maybe I do. I talked to my mom a bit about it. I'm all over the place right now. My advice to you is really deep and very spiritual and like and super filled with philosophy and wonder and wisdom. I would say learn Spanish. That's probably your best bet, is learn Spanish. Learn Spanish is probably that's where you want to go. With 25 seconds left in the episode, I have to say thank you for an amazing episode 211. I appreciate you. I see you. I'm a bit backed up on comments right now, which is something that's really never happened in the history of this channel. But I have like a lot of comments. Granted, it's split between like 4 or 5 of you that comment more than once. But I still have a lot to go through and reply to. But I will. And I read them all. So, with that being said, I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.